Hi, I'm Amber Young,
And I'm Barbara Phillips.
and this is Let's
Let's talk.
Talk
Yeah,
EVM.
I give up.
Um, all right, welcome. And I'd like to start with a disclaimer. Disclaimer is for myself and Barbara
And Lisa.
and Lisa that the views that are expressed in this podcast are our own and are not the views of the American U.S. government or any large contractor. Or
Yes.
any contractor,
Yeah.
anyone, but our own. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So with that, I wanted to welcome and say thank you to our esteemed guest, Lisa Hastings. She'll be introducing herself in a moment. And today we are going to be talking about, during the month of February, the love of scheduling. So many topics around scheduling. And we're going to call this lovingly For the Love of Scheduling. So with that, pass it over to Lisa and let us know a little bit about yourself.
Hello, Lisa Hastings. I have been working in the defense industry for about 20 years now, always involved in something scheduling related. A lot of my work has also been on the earned value side. I have scheduled for production programs, development programs with domestic customers, international customers, and I just absolutely love scheduling. So I'm excited to be here today, and I'm excited to talk to you about all things schedule related.
Wonderful. We love that. We love scheduling. We've been talking a lot about scheduling lately, haven't we, Amber?
Yes. You
Yes.
can't not in the world of EVM. It's
Yes.
the foundation. Yes.
It's where the scope is. It's where the time is. And sometimes it's where the resources are. So, Lisa, many people know you and your contribution to the field, and I think might be curious, despite your introduction, but to give us a little bit more information about how did you get into scheduling? What interested you about scheduling and decide to make it a career path?
I always find these stories so interesting when I talk to other schedulers because I don't think anyone goes to college with the
Yeah.
idea that they're going to graduate and become a scheduler. So it's always, how did you get into this field?
Yeah.
Um, I feel very lucky with the way that I found scheduling. I had a professor while I was still in school that gave us an assignment to go talk to a large company, ask them questions about what they look for on a resume,
Hmm.
conduct their interview process, and then come back to the classroom and share that information so that when we go look for jobs, we have an idea of how these large companies operate. My mom at the time was a software engineer for a large defense company. And I ended up going to talk to someone in their HR department with all these questions. And after I was done interviewing her, she said, "Hey, if you drop your resume with me, I can see if we have any internships open for the summer." And it just so happened that their scheduling department picked me up. So I
Wow.
started
Oh, I
as,
love that. Love that story so much.
yeah,
Wow.
and I had no idea what scheduling was. So I learned a lot that summer.
That's wonderful. They knew talent when they saw it. Well, in turn, now that you're all schooled on from the HR department on what they're looking for, what do you look for when you're hiring a scheduler?
Oh, that's such a good question. I, I think that good schedulers are naturally curious people.
Yes.
So I look for someone that isn't afraid to ask questions, that has curiosity about the products, that wants to learn the engineering side at a high level. So curiosity is definitely at the top of my list. Analytical skills are really important. And there's two sets of skills that I'm looking for too. So there's the technical side, analytical skills, and if I'm looking for a more experienced scheduler, then critical path analysis and ETCs and resource loading. But then there's the soft skill side of a scheduler that I think is equally as important.
Okay.
Are they able to pull information from an engineer that's really busy? Are they able to work side by side with a program manager? Are they able to communicate clearly? Can they facilitate and run meetings? Can they do presentations? So the whole package is someone that has both the technical and the soft skills.
Oh, that is definitely a very talented person that you're talking about with being able to make presentations. I think a lot of the schedulers I've met would really rather sit in the back of the room and hide under their green shade and say,
Oh,
look, I
no.
created an alternative critical path by removing this one constraint, or something.
Yeah, I would really encourage schedulers to become part of the program team and
Mhm.
to work as like a deputy to the program manager. So, don't sit in the back and engage with the program team, ask questions, make recommendations when you can, you know, be an analyst, not a data entry clerk.
And to me, it also sounds like, so I'm hearing with soft skills communication, really huge communicator, and that bridge between the technical, hearing the engineer's perspective and understanding it. But I'm also hearing storyteller, someone who can explain, right? The schedule is basically the story of the project. I see it like that. So I think I'm hearing some of those elements in what you're saying too.
That is
Interesting.
definitely true. Yeah.
We're talking a little bit about the hiring, recruiting, retaining. Tell us a little bit more about how we can get more schedulers into this field.
Yeah. So if you're talking entry level, I do have some ideas. And a lot of the focus ends up being on entry level and more junior analysts, just because it is so incredibly difficult to find an experienced scheduling analyst that's actually looking for a job. Just let alone that, but like in your geographical region, if you're requiring them to be on site. So a lot of emphasis does go into bringing into entry level and mentoring them and training them and growing them. I think one area where we can focus is on our universities. And I've done some of that outreach myself to a university in my area, going to the business students and letting them know that there is this career in program controls. It's really interesting. It's challenging. If you like solving puzzles, if you like learning about engineering, like it's very exciting. And I think very early on in your career too, you get exposure to so many components of a program. And then from there, you can either have a career in scheduling, but there's also multiple paths that you can break out from just starting as a scheduler at a company.
How do you think people learn how to schedule? They read a textbook, they take a class, they apprenticeship, journeyman thing. How do you think people actually learn how to do it?
I think it's different for every person. I know people that can watch YouTube videos and retain that very quickly. Others like to see things done on the job. There's people that can read a textbook and that's what works for them. And I think that's part of getting to know your employees and understanding how they learn best and making sure that you have different avenues where they can learn and grow different ways. So it's not all PowerPoint, that there is on the job mentoring, and it's not all reading a textbook, that there are some videos so that everyone can learn in the ways that they learn best.
I'm probably throwing myself under the bus here, but I personally learned a lot about scheduling by running health checks.
The 14-point assessment.
Yes, that'll do it.
Okay, I can't link this summary level task, but everything under it connects to my next task. Why can't I? Well, it'll let you. Well, some tools will let you, but
Yes, they will.
yeah. I found the tools to be oddly helpful. Catching those out of sequence. Oh, okay, I didn't even realize I did that. Or how many orphan tasks you have. I don't know. I haven't run a help desk in a little while now, so I can't rattle them off. But so, things that really, the number of constraints, or, just really sabotage almost the schedule, and that that it's not informative. It's got these, I can't think of what the right word is, but enough errors in it that you can't. It's not information, like Amber was saying, to communicate, because it's flawed.
It's basically not credible, right?
Credible.
Right. So, like, one of the main reasons we build integrated master schedules is because they're able to predict, right? It's the predictability of the schedule that makes it so useful. And schedule health checks help us determine whether the schedule's been constructed in a way that we can actually rely on downstream impacts when we see them, and dates when we need to pull them. But where I think that a more junior scheduler can get in some hot water is assuming that these schedule health metrics are black and white. Like, we have to remember that schedule health metrics are just an indicator. Like, you might have a bunch of logic that's not finished to start. Maybe it's an issue and you need to change your finish to finishes, or start to starts to finish to start, or maybe there's a really good explanation for it. And so when we train on schedule health, we really try to understand what the intent behind the metric is, what the concern is, and do we have a solid explanation? Like, do we have a good enough reason for why we shouldn't be concerned? And high float is another one of those.
Yeah.
So most programs do have high float. And I love that we went from counting high float tasks in the 14 point to transitioning to tasks that have high float that can't be justified in the DECA metrics. I think that's a much better metric. High float is an indicator you could be missing logic. And I've seen schedulers that are afraid to be read on a health check. And so they'll just put deadlines in their schedule to turn in that high float. Yeah. And it's like, you don't want to mess up your schedule just to be green on a metric.
Yes.
You definitely want to use
There's your soundbite right there. That's it.
Exactly.
I really couldn't agree with you more. I think, when you're it's like the tail wagging the dog, when you're letting the process control. Whereas if the process isn't working, you need to fix the process. If people know better, then fix the process and then use it as a controlling function, but don't just blindly follow the process. And I love how every time people do bring up the 14 point, anybody from DCMA in the room is quick to say, by the way, people, we do not use that anymore.
Right.
Everybody still likes it, though. Everybody likes it.
Yes. I don't think we'll ever entirely get away from it. It's just so popular and well known, and DECA isn't quite there in terms of popularity. But they're not bad metrics, the 14 point. It's a good starting point.
Yeah. When you mentioned, Barbara, that was how you first started, when you first started to get into scheduling, Barbara, you used the health metrics to bounce against. And in my beginnings with EVM and scheduling, definitely that was around at that time, right? So that was a big area to focus, and the evolution since has been tremendous. So it's really, I think, a breath of fresh air to hear more and more experts talking about the metrics and checks as indicators, and really, why is the schedule composed the way it is? Why was this model chosen? And one thing I really appreciate about the scheduling tools is flexibility for the scheduling tools to be used by the end users to reflect the projects as they are. And you have these logical blocks that you're playing with. I think scheduling is a lot of logic. No pun intended with predecessors, successors, but genuinely logic, flow of events. And so you want to have kind of this interesting open playing field to work with the team and environment that you're in, and also to expand to multiple dimensions of portfolio management, program management, all the levels. In addition, But yes, it's very exciting. I love scheduling also, and I'm very excited to have this time to talk about it. So thank you. I will stop. I will stop ambling and come back to
You're not ambling, Amber.
Sorry.
I think rolling back a minute, when we were talking about the qualifications of the scheduler, one of my jobs, there was a very, very strong distinction between a scheduler and a planner.
There was another, we talked planner, scheduler. I'm just going to throw a whole bunch out here. Maybe Lisa, feel free to pick them all or none or some. Planner, scheduler, project controls versus program controls analyst. So there's all kinds of players. How would you distinguish them?
Yeah, I think that it kind of depends on the company you're at. I don't think that across industry, I could say when you hear the word planner, it means this. And when you hear the word scheduler, it means this. I feel like planner as a title is a thing, but it's also an activity that a scheduler does. So like a scheduling analyst has a planning phase that they go through before they even start building a schedule. So when I hear that someone's a planner, but that doesn't resonate with me as much as a scheduling analyst or a project control analyst, because to me, planning is just a phase that you go through, not necessarily a title. Project control analyst, when I hear that, I tend to think more of this person is working with resources. They are probably have a bigger part of working on the cost side as well. Sometimes it's the same person that builds the integrated master schedule and that also works in the EV engine. But like I said, those titles and those things are going to vary from company to company. I think the word analyst should always be attached to them, though. Like, regardless of whether you're a planner, a scheduler, or a project or program control person, you're an analyst. You should be analyzing. It should not be data entry.
I've also seen, just not on the scheduler side, but on the project controls, project control engineer. So instead of the analyst term, PCEs.
Oh, yeah, I've heard that term too. Yeah. Well, the distinction at the one job I had was that the schedulers were leaned more toward, the data entry part that you were just mentioning, Lisa, like a clerk kind of a thing. Whereas the planner took more of a strategic approach and had that greater responsibility of really interviewing the CAM or the project manager and understanding what picture they wanted to see painted in the schedule that was going to help them, understand their forecasts and where they were going and what they had accomplished. Whereas the scheduler was more like perhaps working with somebody who could just dictate it and really, really didn't have to think, had already thought those things through themselves and really weren't looking for assistance to get that done. So it's just kind of like a ranking thing. Like if you've been hacking away at the field for a couple of years, you became a planner because you'd seen more, you gained more experience. But you're right, it's really in the noise. And I think that, it is just being an analyst is the key, that you're constantly evaluating and determining different courses forward and what the data really means. But here's a pregnant question for you, Lisa. If you were forced, if you needed to pick a document that provides the very best practices in scheduling, which one would you pick?
I feel very biased because of my involvement with CIA as co-chair of their planning and scheduling committee and a board member of their integrated program management division. But I do think it's the planning and scheduling excellence guide.
It's got the word excellence in it. I mean, what more can you?
I agree. Yes. Self-proclaimed, but it's the standard. I would say, yeah.
Yeah. And It's a collaborative document. It was developed between both government and industry. It's updated every 3 years, and the update
Wow.
is a year-and-a-half process. It's
Wow.
got really everything you can think of that has to do with scheduling, and the way that it's organized is useful as well, in that there's like a management view, which talks about scheduling topics at a high level from a PM perspective. There's recommendations at the end of each chapter for things that you should consider, things to avoid, things to promote. Um, I think it's an extremely useful document with a lot of good information and a lot of relevant information.
I entirely agree. And I also really do admire and appreciate the way that it's written. I mean, it's not a cover to cover read. It's a reference, you're looking something up. But just even like the way it's formatted, the way your eye can just fall across the page until you get to, not a call out box, but like you said, your point of view. Oh, wait, I'm a PM. I need to know this. Oh, wait, I'm the scheduler. What do I need to zero in on, or what are common, I forget what I haven't looked at it today, but what are common trips or common, where do people go south with things? It has something about that too, where common mistakes
Yes,
that people make.
avoid. Yep.
Yeah, things to avoid. Thanks. Yeah, right. So when you say it's collaborative, like how many people do you think submit suggested change? Not in every rotation, but like in the last 10 years, you think 5 people have said, all right, I think you guys should do this? Or is it like
Oh, no.
50 or
No.
100?
I mean, I'm not sure how many people, but I can tell you, like, the last round of updates we did, there was close to 1,000 comments, and it's
Oh
usually like,
my gosh.
yeah,
Really?
yeah,
Wow.
yes.
Wow.
And they come from industry and government. And then we
Okay.
put together an adjudication team that goes through every single comment submitted, and we adjudicate them one at a time. That's why the process takes a year and a half. And the
Wow.
adjudication team is made up of both government and industry experts as well. So we get all sides.
That's fantastic. That's
I had
amazing.
no idea. Wow. That
I
is
remember hearing a
crazy.
stat like that during one of the recent NDI IPMDs. So I was thoroughly blown away as well. But my reaction wasn't now, it was then. So yes, same. Lisa, you guys are doing amazing work. It's tremendous. It's so important to be up to date too. And the 3-year cycle is wonderful. Yeah.
But I mean, you'd think scheduling would be solved.
Never.
You
Well,
think
I think
so?
that's the punchline. I mean, it's almost a riddle with so many contributions to, and then of course you guys have the, controversial topics, and we've heard you speak on any number of topics in a number of venues, but it's really not solved. It's just evolving, and people are learning and understanding and expanding the one other question about the health metrics. I think we wanted to also talk about not the health metrics, but the execution metrics.
Yes.
Did you want to comment on the value of those? And
Yeah, so schedule health is looking at how well a schedule is constructed to make sure that we can rely on the data that we're getting out of it. But schedule execution metrics look at how well we're executing to the program, how well we are performing. And I'm seeing huge leaps in schedule execution metrics from where we were in the past, because we're better able to take standardized data and store it. And this allows us to now see trends. Instead of looking at the schedule where we stand for this 1 month, we can look at where we've gone or where we've been for the last year. And I think those trends can be very telling, and they can help us with the predictability of the schedule as well. So I love seeing that. I love the AI component that we're seeing more of. I think we're just on the brink of looking at schedules in a whole new way with all of this additional data that we're getting.
Well, I think that, of course, you're 100% dead on, but I think that AI will make the schedules more accessible to more people. I mean, in my minor experience, I've seen where, you want to show the project manager, hey, look, here's the schedule. Let's, and they're like, well, just tell me what it says. They just don't even want to. They just don't even want to look at the critical path or look at just the Gantt chart or the finish to starts to things, or to see, oh look, this is pushing. They just really absolutely want it interpreted, and it goes back to that communication word that Amber was saying earlier. That you folks that are in the field, that's really the most important, possibly, along with curiosity. But that ability to communicate, interpret, analyze, like you were saying, be analysts of what it says. And that if AI makes the schedule more accessible to more people, that's just a huge win. And promote scheduling, further promote scheduling. I think that's actually true for all of earned value. We'll make earned value less of the how do you do the voodoo that you do so well. People are like, well, where'd this data come from? Well, we got it anyway, it doesn't matter. I'm not going to go down that
The
rabbit hole.
Himalayan monks, some of my EV friends like to call, yes, those hold the knowledge, but now it can be more knowledge for all.
Yeah. And then when more people know, then more people can contribute, and it makes it a richer set of data. So all just a big.
I think it's a very powerful skill for an analyst to be able to convince the program team why they should care about scheduling and schedule metrics. And if you're able to convince them, it changes everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would be a game changer. I think we might be getting close to time, Amber.
Yes. I have a couple more I wanted to throw out to Lisa. They're kind of little zingers. So I think I'll start with.
Don't worry. She only throws softballs. Don't worry.
Oh.
It's not really a zinger. It's a interesting question. And this is really, a la Barbara. So Barbara likes to throw out, I think in our very first episode, there was one where she was controversial wording, nothing, extreme, but just remember something about the reviews to Daniel. So similarly, the question I have is, why is scheduling good and good for you? That's a Barbara question. It is.
Why is it so? Why is it good for me, or why is it good for a program team?
I think, the general you.
The greater good.
Yes.
Yeah. I just, I will admit that sometimes the nature of work on a program does not lend itself to scheduling. So if it's a support type contract, if there isn't a lot of complexity and handoffs, like maybe you don't need a schedule. But if you're running a program that has handoffs and deliverables and engineering effort, even production, I just think the schedule is what gets the team on the same page. It's a model of the program, and you can use that in so many different ways, not just for predictive analysis, but you can put what if scenarios into that model to see what happens if. You can incorporate risk and see where things land. I just think it's such a critical tool for programs. When things are going to happen, how much things should cost, what resources are going to be needed in order to accomplish the work and the timeframes that they're planned. There's just a wealth of information that comes from a schedule. So that's why I think they're good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're good for the project because of all those things you just said, that they give you a wealth of information that you can make informed decisions from. Take that corrective action because now with confidence. We're about to go off the rails. Let's not do that.
Please no. All right. So final question, rounding us out and taking us back to a little bit what we said a couple minutes ago. Lisa, do you think that AI will replace schedulers?
I absolutely do not think that AI is going to replace schedulers. I think AI is going to be a very useful tool for schedulers. And I think schedulers that don't know how to use AI are going to be replaced by those that do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I think that there is a human component to what we do. Scheduling isn't just a science, it's an art as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there is that human component. Somebody needs to look at the AI information for generative AI and make sure that it's quality data. Someone's going to have to take that information and turn it into an action plan. And I don't see AI doing that. I see analysts doing that. So I'm excited about AI. I'm not scared of it.
Great. All right. That's all my questions. I'm going to hand it over to Barbara. Anything else you'd like?
No, I think I'm all set. I think that, Lisa, you're an amazing contributor to the field. And we think that by getting you here on our podcast, we're helping you to spread your scheduling love to, a wider audience. I think people have a lot to learn from these 30 minutes.
Thanks so much for having me.
It's been really wonderful. Thank you, Lisa. All right. So signing off we're going to try this, Barbara. Let's talk
EVM.
Oh my goodness. Let's talk EVM.
Let's talk EVM.
Thanks, everyone.